Throwing with good form. It just takes practice, right? Well, not exactly. The way that beginners naturally throw is a different motion that actually makes it impossible to learn good form. Good form is not intuitive. Players who have good form usually have someone fixing their pocket and teaching them good form outside of practice. It's easy to watch the ball, but a player's follow-through tells us who has good form and who still throws like a beginner. Instead of watching the ball, watch the follow-through to see who needs help. If a beginner's pocket throws like this, they don't have a chance. No one can learn good form with equipment that doesn't work. Now let's get started. Beginners naturally face the target when they throw, but throwing a lacrosse ball like this is the same thing as throwing a ball like this with your hand. Only beginners do it. To learn good form, they should stand sideways to the target and throw across their body like if they were throwing a baseball or a football. Beginners naturally hold the stick with their top hand in a fist. This prevents them from following through. If we get their top hand under the stick with the stick diagonally through their palm, then they can throw with good form. There's a separate hand grip video that explains all this in detail. But if you see your player's follow-through stop halfway, or if their follow-through stops at their waist, it's really likely that their top hand is in a fist. If they've got it right, they can touch the ground. Wide hand spacing is probably the biggest reason beginners can't throw. There's a separate elbow rule video that explains this in detail, but the idea is once you find the correct hand spacing, mark it with a big piece of tape so that beginners can find the correct hand spacing easily without thinking. Then when they move their hands wide apart to catch, the tape will let them know the correct hand spacing automatically. Beginners need help to move the stick back to generate power. Just like throwing a baseball or a football with good form, they want to have their elbow up and away from their body. They'll forget this and rest their elbow on their body all the time. This is just a bad habit that they need help to break. The stick should be parallel to their shoulders. This is also called pointing the butt end at the target. If their top hand is in a fist, then they'll point the stick out to the side and they won't be able to throw with good form. Getting a player to use their bottom hand is the final step and what separates beginner form from advanced form. There's a separate bottom hand video that explains this in detail. But an easy way to test players is to hold the stick in your top hand and pull your bottom hand to your elbow. Beginners who don't know how to use their bottom hand will push with their top hand, and it'll be easy to see who needs help. You've probably heard the term snap your wrists. Beginners have no idea what this means, but now we could help them by telling them to pull their bottom hand to their elbow. This expels the ball from the pocket, and it needs to happen near the end of their motion. The timing is a little different with each pocket, but you can only do it with a pocket that works. You can see that natural beginner form doesn't use the bottom hand at all. Even if they swing their arms, their bottom hand is still doing nothing. This is why bad form can never become good form. And if we tell beginners to throw with scarecrow arms or snap their wrists, they're never going to be able to figure out what we're talking about. It's the same problem if we teach beginners with a short pass. You can throw a short pass with good form. The motion is just so subtle that beginners can't figure out what we're trying to teach them. We say, throw like this, then they repeat it with their natural beginner form. They just can't see the difference. But with a long motion and full follow-through, beginners can start to understand the difference between throwing like a beginner and throwing like an advanced player. The more that they practice this form, the better they'll get. If a player's having trouble, Have them stop their motion and freeze with the stick pointed at the target. They'll only be able to stop the stick at their shoulder level if they're doing everything right. If their hands or any part of the stick goes below their shoulders, then you know that either their top hand is in a fist, their hands are too wide apart, or they're not pulling with their bottom hand. It's different for every player, so it helps to walk through all three pieces. When they leave practice, if they play wall ball standing close to the wall, they're going to slip back to their natural beginner form. There's a separate wall ball video that explains this in detail, but standing far from the wall and using a long motion with full follow through is the best way to break beginner bad habits and learn good form. The longer that a beginner uses a bad pocket and their natural beginner form, the sooner